Hey, welcome back. It's the Steve and Paul show yet again. And this part of the topics deals with companies and deals with business structures. So Steve is really a good example of this because you were literally setting up a business a few years ago dealing with a gym.
Yes.
And you have other businesses that you're dealing with. You have your speakers operations or speakeasy, which is training people to speak.
Yes, yeah.
And you have other training courses that you do. Plus, you've also now
sold my soul, got out of the fitness industry and got into the industry of feeding people
with
sugary
ice cream.
treats.
Yes.
Creating the
Look,
problem,
sugar's
as they
so
say.
good. Yes.
So no, I mean, from a structure perspective, I've done it all. I've been everywhere except a publicly listed company.
Or a
setting up.
partnership.
I've done a partnership.
Oh,
It
you
was
did
horrible.
a partnership.
But
yeah.
I think you've got someone. You've got a.
Yeah,
you've got
I've got a hairdresser
we don't
coming
want
on
to
at
cut
that.
her lunch.
Well, or her hair.
Failing to, you don't want to cut my hair. Hence the hat.
That's the reason for the cap. Yay! Now, because Steve has actually had to deal with setting up a business, what is relevant in our topic is why do you pick it? And why
Absolutely.
did you... There are a number of... We'll deal with Steve on a partnership issue in another tape, but on the company issue, there are reasons behind why you pick. So why did you pick a company?
Well,
and what type of company did you pick?
Absolutely. Well, I remembered back to always hearing about this through business management at school and through university. We learned the three different structures, and I think it was in Accounting 101 that we talked about the basic business structures: sole trader, partnership, companies. And obviously, what I liked the idea of a company being like a fake person, a separate legal entity that can sue and be sued, can own stuff, can sell stuff, can basically do all that, but at the same time protect the people that operated the company or ran the company through the fact that it was a separate legal entity. So I had an element of protection. Previously, when I got into business, a sole tradership, you could set that up overnight, nice and easy. But the protection of your own personal assets and your own stuff is zero. It's still there and it still exists in a company structure, what I've found, but it gives me that extra barrier. And as you get older, you get more stuff, and that stuff needs to be protected. So that's
you
why
don't
I chose
want
that.
your surfboard.
No, I don't want my canoes or my surfboards to get taken,
or
my
your
house,
car,
or
your
my house
house.
or car. So I chose the company because it offered that extra level of protection. Sure,
to your personal assets.
It came at a cost, but I think that cost was definitely.
And the other reason why you look at company structures is a tax perspective, because the personal income tax, when you start making larger salaries,
you get charged at the
larger rate or higher rates, then there is ways that you can play games with tax to reduce your tax from a corporate perspective.
Legally, of course, Paul.
Tax avoidance is illegal.
It is.
But tax minimisation is the national Australian sport.
There it is.
Now, the issues though that come up, it's a balance of liability, it's a balance of a cost of setting up a company, and it's a balance with what is the tax liabilities that will occur. Now, we're not going to go through the tax issues, that's for a later subject. But when we look at the type that Stevie J has picked, he's gone for a new version, which is a sole director. And
so in this instance, it was absolutely a sole directorship, proprietary limited company. Yeah,
so it's a proprietary limited, which is the most common form of company. It's what most small businesses will use, and you've got a sole director.
Yeah.
But you've done a sole director because you didn't have someone that you were willing to, or at the time that you set it up, it was only going to be you.
Correct.
And you wanted the limited liability ability to protect you personally.
Yes.
What we will see in later topics is we'll look about your liabilities of directors to the outside world. We'll also look at other issues about what is the liability from winding ups and things like that.
Well, so it brings in, so we're a sole trader in partnership, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't have this massive textbook / act the companies has
Sole
the
trader
corporation
has none, but there is a partnership
The
act.
Corporations Act is a big part of company legislation. That as a director, there's many sections that I have responsibilities to the company
Yep.
as well as the company protecting me. There's always a catch, yeah. Company gives you protection, you've got to obviously do the right thing.
And the joy with setting up your company is that you can be the sole director and responsible for running it, but the benefit is to the shareholders.
Yeah,
so
that's
what
right.
you can do is bring family members in to you as shareholders. So there is a way of income splitting and whatever, and the shareholders have no liability. So if you've got a big Italian family or you've got 10 or 12 siblings, you can then be splitting the income and you can be providing them with sort of income streams. They pay the tax, but the company then isn't paying tax on that. And then when they get bigger issues, there are dividends when it's a public company. Now, from the point of view of all the things that you've been saying, we have a specialist subject later that deals with corporations and delves into those in more detail. But in business law, we're really looking at the director's liabilities and what happens if the directors have been negligent and trading when insolvent.
Yes.
There's always this fine line that shareholders could sue you about this. We'll also be looking at an issue that I don't think you set up, which was a family trust issue.
No, and there's obviously reasons why you'd set up a family trust. It's if it was a trust where you could just pull your mates in and just drop them in there and give them the benefits of the trust, absolutely.
And you'd go for a discretionary trust that allowed you to. But the big advantage
at my age, with no siblings and real
no
dependents
children
and any of those sort of things, and just poisoning the rest of my family, the benefits and the cost associated with setting up a family trust sort of was negated, and I just chose the sole director where I had all the shares in the company. But the benefit of that is that it's very easy then to bring other people into the company if I need to. So
by giving
I can
them
offer
shares.
shares to them and then just knock up heads of agreement and shareholders agreements to outline responsibilities and things like that. So yeah, it's been a really good choice for sure.
Yeah. Which is really good because the only issue that we'll bring up on the trust is trusts nowadays really are just a tool for income splitting. Often they have been used previously to protect your assets against creditors as another barrier, but that's been weakened in a lot of ways by changes in the legislation dealing with trusts and in the bankruptcy legislation, which has relation back periods. We won't be going through those issues.
That's why you're doing business law and not all the law.
But the point, and it shows you that really when you get out into the business world,
it's all interrelated, yeah?
Every business decision you make has a legal consequence.
Absolutely.
So we'll call that a wrap.
See you guys.